My daughter wrote, "Forget our address. My husband is against you. We're moving and won't tell you where." I smirked and canceled all my money transfers for their mortgage. In the morning, they were begging at my doorstep. Good day, dear listeners. It's Louisa again. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. For 32 years, I had believed that being a good mother meant sacrifice. My name is Margaret Donovan, and at 68 years old, I thought I had finally figured out what unconditional love looked like. My daughter Emily and her husband Brad had moved into their dream house 2 years ago. A beautiful colonial in the suburbs with a wraparound porch and a backyard big enough for my granddaughters, Sophie and Claire, to play in. I had been so proud to help them with the down payment, $25,000 from my retirement savings. "Just a loan, Mom," Emily had promised, hugging me tight. "We'll pay you back." But loans between family members rarely work out the way we plan, do they? I had continued helping them. Monthly mortgage payments when Brad's contracting business hit a rough patch. Grocery money when Emily claimed their budget was tight. Dance lessons for the girls, new school clothes, a repair for their SUV. 500 here, 1,000 there. I kept a mental tally at first, but eventually I stopped counting. What kind of mother keeps score? The first crack in my illusion appeared on a Tuesday afternoon in October. I had stopped by their house unannounced, something I rarely did, to drop off a birthday present for Sophie's 7th birthday party that weekend. I had my own key, a symbol of trust Emily had given me years ago. "You're always welcome here, Mom," she had said. I let myself in quietly, not wanting to startle anyone. The house was silent, except for voices coming from the kitchen. Emily and Brad, talking in low tones. I should have called out. I should have made my presence known. But something in Emily's voice, an edge I didn't recognize, made me pause. "She'll give us whatever we ask for," Emily was saying. "She always does. We just need to play it right until the house is fully ours." Brad's laugh was cruel. "Your mom's a walking ATM. I told you from the start. Use the guilt. Dead dad, only daughter, blah blah. It's worked perfectly." My hand froze on the doorknob. This had to be a misunderstanding. Some inside joke I wasn't understanding. But Emily's next words shattered that hope. "I know, but she's been asking questions about when we'll start paying her back. We need to create some distance. Maybe tell her she's being too intrusive, too controlling. That'll keep her off balance and guilty enough to keep the money flowing." I backed out of that house as silently as I had entered. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely start my car. $23,000. That's what I had given them over the past 2 years, beyond the initial down payment. I knew because that night, I went through every bank statement, every canceled check, every Venmo transfer. The second blow came 3 weeks later, on a Friday evening. I had been trying to process what I'd overheard, trying to convince myself I had misunderstood. I had pulled back slightly, declining a request to fund Sophie's expensive birthday party, saying I needed to watch my budget. Emily's tone had cooled immediately, but I had pushed aside my concerns. Then my phone buzzed with a text message. From Emily. "Forget our address. Brad is done with you. We're moving and we won't tell you where." I stared at those words until they blurred. My granddaughters' faces flashed through my mind. Would I never see them again? My finger hovered over the call button, ready to apologize, ready to beg, ready to promise anything. Then something inside me hardened. I opened my banking app instead. Every mortgage payment I had made for them in the past 18 months had gone through a third-party service that allowed payment cancellation within 30 days, if authorized by the original payer. I had set it up that way specifically for estate planning purposes, at my financial advisor's suggestion. I smiled, a cold, unfamiliar expression, and began clicking cancel payment on every single transfer. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily as a little girl, crawling into my lap after her father died, whispering, "We only have each other now, Mommy." Had that been manipulation even then? No. I couldn't let Brad's poison reach that far back. But when had my daughter learned to weaponize my love? By dawn, I had filled 4 pages of my notebook with calculations. The numbers didn't lie, even if my daughter had. Initial down payment, $25,000. Mortgage payments over 18 months, $18,000. The refrigerator when theirs broke, $2,200. The roof repair Brad claimed was urgent, $4,500. Dance lessons, soccer fees, school supplies, clothes, groceries, another $6,800. Emergency dental work for Brad that wasn't covered by insurance, $1,900. Christmas and birthday gifts, $2,400. Total, $60,800. $60,800 from a retirement account that was supposed to last me another 20 years. I had been living on $1,800 a month from Social Security, supplementing it with careful withdrawals from my savings. At this rate, I'd be destitute before 75. My hands trembled as I poured my coffee. The fear was real, visceral. I could end up dependent on the very daughter who had been using me. I could lose my house. I could become the burden Emily clearly already saw me as. But beneath the fear, something else was growing. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind that had burned out during the sleepless night. This was cold, calculated, and absolutely unforgiving. I pulled up the canceled payment confirmations on my laptop. 18 months of mortgage payments, totaling $18,000, all successfully canceled. The money would return to my account within 3 to 5 business days. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. And more importantly, it was leverage. Brad and Emily's mortgage was $2,300 per month. Without my payments, they were suddenly short $18,000. Their bank would notice. Oh yes, they would definitely notice. But I needed to understand my legal position before taking another step. At 9 a.m. sharp, I called my attorney, Robert Chen, who had handled my estate planning after my husband died. "Margaret, good to hear from you," he said warmly. "What can I do for you today?" I explained the situation clinically, without emotion. The loans, the overheard conversation, the threatening text message, the canceled payments. Robert listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long pause. "Margaret, I need to ask you something important. Do you have any written agreements with Emily and Brad? Any promissory notes? Any documentation of these loans?" My stomach sank. No, it was family. I trusted. "I understand," he said gently. "Unfortunately, that makes this complicated. Legally, gifts to family members are just that, gifts. Unless you can prove there was an agreement to repay, you likely can't force repayment through the courts." "So they just get away with it?" My voice cracked despite my best efforts. "Not necessarily. The canceled payments, were those documented as loans? I set them up through a mortgage payment service. Every payment included a memo. Temporary assistance, M. Donovan." That helps. That language suggests an expectation of repayment, not a gift. And the fact that you had the authority to cancel them indicates they weren't straightforward gifts. How did Emily and Brad represent these payments to their mortgage company? I hadn't thought of that. I don't know. Find out." If they claimed those payments as their own without disclosing they were from you, there might be mortgage fraud involved. At minimum, their lender needs to know the payment source has been terminated. Robert paused. Margaret, I have to ask, what's your goal here? Revenge? Restitution? Protecting yourself financially? What did I want? The question settled over me like snow. I want my granddaughters in my life, I said finally, and I want Emily and Brad to understand they can't treat people this way. I want consequences. Then here's what we're going to do, Robert said, and I could hear him making notes. Document everything. Every text message, every email, every payment. We're going to send them a formal demand letter for repayment of the loans. We're also going to notify their mortgage company that you're no longer making payments on their behalf. This will force them to confront the reality of their situation. Will that be enough? For now, it's about establishing a paper trail and protecting yourself legally. Margaret, they threaten to cut you off from your grandchildren. That's parental alienation if there's no just cause, and in extreme cases, grandparents do have visitation rights. A weight lifted slightly from my chest. I wasn't powerless. I had options. After hanging up with Robert, I began my documentation. Screenshots of every text message from Emily over the past 2 years. Every cheerful, "Thanks, Mom," after I'd sent money. Every casual request that I now saw as calculated manipulation. The doorbell rang at 2 p.m., startling me from my work. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a suit holding a clipboard. My heart raced. Had Emily already taken some legal action against me? But no. The logo on his polo shirt read, First National Mortgage Services. I opened the door. Can I help you? Mrs. Margaret Donovan? He checked his clipboard. I'm Dennis Shaw from First National. We're conducting routine verification on the property at 847 Maple Ridge Drive. Our records show you've been making supplementary payments on that mortgage. Is that correct? So it was starting. I was. Those payments have been canceled. His expression shifted to concern. I see. Ma'am, were you aware that the primary borrowers, Emily and Bradley Whitman, listed those payments as income from a family business arrangement on their loan application? My breath caught. A business arrangement? Yes, ma'am. They indicated you were a silent partner in Mr. Whitman's contracting business and that the monthly payments were profit distributions. That's why the loan was approved at the level it was. The bank counted your payments as stable income. Mortgage fraud. Robert had been right to ask. Mr. Shaw, I have no involvement in any business with my son-in-law. Those payments were temporary assistance to family members. I was never a business partner, and I certainly never agreed to be listed as such on any loan application. Dennis Shaw's face went pale. Ma'am, I'm going to need to make some calls. This is a serious discrepancy. Would you be willing to provide a statement to that effect? Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to speak with your fraud investigation department. After Shaw left with my written statement and copies of my payment records, I felt the first real surge of power. They had lied to the bank. They had committed fraud. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore. This was criminal. My phone rang at 4 p.m. Emily. I let it go to voicemail. Mom, we need to talk. There's been some kind of mistake with the mortgage company. They're saying you canceled payments? That doesn't make sense. Just call me back. We can fix this. Her voice was strained, frightened. Good. I didn't call back. Instead, I drove to the office of a private investigator Robert had recommended. Linda Martinez was a former police detective who specialized in financial investigations. Your attorney briefed me, Linda said, gesturing for me to sit. I've already started preliminary work. Margaret, I need you to understand. What I find might be worse than what you already know. Are you prepared for that? I need to know the truth. All of it. Linda nodded and opened a folder. Your daughter and son-in-law's financial situation is precarious. They have $67,000 in credit card debt across 8 cards. Brad's contracting business is underwater. He owes suppliers nearly $40,000. They're 3 months behind on their car payments. The only thing keeping them afloat has been your money. I absorbed this. So when I stopped paying, their house of cards starts collapsing. But there's more. Linda pulled out printed social media posts. These are from Emily's Facebook. Privacy settings, friends only. I have a contact who could access them. I looked at the posts. Photos of expensive family vacations. 2 weeks in Hawaii. So blessed. A new jet ski in their driveway. Designer handbags. Concert tickets. A post from just last week. Treated myself to a spa day. Self-care isn't selfish. All while claiming to me they were struggling. All while taking my retirement money. There's something else, Linda said quietly. I spoke with some of Brad's former employees. He has a reputation for not paying what he owes. 3 mechanics' liens on properties he's worked on. Small claims judgments. Your daughter married a con artist, Margaret, and she either doesn't know or doesn't care. She knows, I said, remembering the conversation I'd overheard. She's complicit. Linda's next words changed everything. I have a contact in family court. Off the record, she pulled Emily's name for me. Margaret, did you know your daughter filed for a restraining order against you 2 weeks ago? The room tilted. What? She filed and then withdrew it the same day. The petition claimed you were mentally unstable, showing up unannounced, making bizarre accusations about their marriage. She was building a legal case to cut you out of the children's lives completely. The calculated cruelty took my breath away. They had been planning this, not just using me for money, but preparing to discard me entirely once I was no longer useful. Linda reached across the desk. Are you all right? I wasn't. But I also was. Because now I knew. This wasn't misunderstanding or miscommunication. This was predatory, planned exploitation. I'm fine, I said, and meant it. What do I do next? We document everything. I'll get you a full financial report on their situation. Robert will send the formal demand letter. And you prepare yourself, Margaret, because when that letter arrives, they're going to come at you hard. I drove home as sunset painted the sky orange and purple. My phone showed 17 missed calls from Emily, 4 from Brad. I blocked both numbers. That night, I received an email from Robert. Attached was the demand letter, ready to send. It laid out every payment, every loan, every dollar, with interest calculated at the legal rate. Total amount demanded, $67,240, due within 30 days. At the bottom, a line that made me smile. Furthermore, this letter serves as formal notice that Margaret Donovan had no business relationship with Bradley Whitman and was never a partner in his contracting business. Any representations to the contrary on loan applications or other financial documents constitute fraud. I clicked Approve to Send. The point of no return had arrived, and I drove past it without hesitation. The demand letter was delivered by certified mail on a Wednesday morning. I know because I tracked it online, watching as the status changed from out for delivery to signed for by E. Whitman at 10:47 a.m. My phone started ringing at 10:52 a.m. I had changed my number the day before. A new cell phone, new voicemail, unknown to Emily and Brad. The old phone sat on my kitchen counter, buzzing insistently. I watched it like a scientist observing an experiment. 23 calls in the first hour. Then text messages started flooding in. From Emily, "You've lost your mind." From Emily, "How dare you involve lawyers?" From Emily, "You're destroying our family." From Brad, "We can explain everything. Just call off your attorney." From Emily, "The girls are crying, asking for grandma. This is what you want?" That last one nearly broke me, but I had learned my lesson about Emily's manipulation. I took a screenshot and sent it to Linda. "Is this parental alienation?" She confirmed. "Yes. Save everything." The next morning, I was having coffee when I heard car doors slam in my driveway. Through the window, I saw Brad's truck. They had found me despite my precautions. Of course, they knew where I lived. I didn't open the door when they rang. I stood in my hallway, watching through the peephole. "Mom, open the door!" Emily's voice was shrill. "We need to talk about this insanity." Brad pounded on the door. "Margaret, this is ridiculous. We're family." "I'm calling the police if you don't leave my property," I said through the door, phone already in hand. "Oh, you're going to call the cops on your own daughter?" Brad's laugh was harsh. "That's perfect. The bank's already crawling up our ass because of you, and now you want to add a police report? You want to destroy us completely? You destroyed yourselves with lies and fraud." My voice was steady, surprising me. Emily's tone shifted, softening. "Mom, please. I know we haven't been perfect, but we can work this out. The girls need you. I need you. Can we come in and talk? No lawyers, no threats, just family." How many times had I fallen for that voice? That little girl lost routine that Emily had perfected over the years? "The time for talking ended when you committed mortgage fraud," I said. "My attorney will handle all communication from now on." "Mortgage fraud?" Brad exploded. "You bitter old bitch. We gave you access to those girls out of pity. You're a lonely widow with nothing in your life but us." "Brad, stop!" Emily hissed, but the mask was slipping. "No. She needs to hear this. She's nothing without us. A pathetic old woman living in the past, trying to buy love because she's too fucked up to earn it naturally. Your own daughter can't stand you, Margaret. Why do you think we kept asking for money? It was the only thing making you tolerable." The words should have hurt. Maybe they did. But I had heard worse in the silence of my own thoughts during sleepless nights. Hearing them out loud somehow made them less powerful. "I'm calling the police now," I said calmly. "You have 30 seconds to leave my property." "You'll never see Sophie and Claire again," Emily shrieked. "Never. I'll make sure they forget you exist." I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "My daughter and her husband are on my property refusing to leave after I've asked them repeatedly. I need them removed." Brad must have heard me through the door because suddenly there was silence. Then footsteps. Car doors, the engine starting. "Ma'am, are they still there?" the dispatcher asked. "They're leaving now, but I want this documented. They've been harassing me and I'm concerned about escalation." A police officer arrived 20 minutes later. Officer Ramirez was young, professional, and took my statement seriously. I showed him the text messages, explained about the financial dispute, showed him the demand letter. "Do you want to file for a restraining order, ma'am?" Did I? That felt like such an enormous step. But Robert's words echoed. "Document everything. Protect yourself." "Yes," I said. "I do." Officer Ramirez helped me fill out the preliminary paperwork. He took photos of my front door where Brad had pounded hard enough to scuff the paint. He noted everything in his report. After he left, I sat in my living room and shook. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving me hollow and frightened. What had I done? I had called the police on my own daughter. I was seeking a restraining order against the mother of my grandchildren. But what choice did I have? They had come to my home to intimidate me. Brad had called me vile names. Emily had threatened to erase me from the girls' lives. I called Robert and told him everything. "Good," he said firmly. "You did exactly right. I'm filing an emergency response to their behavior with the court. This supports everything we've claimed. Robert, I'm scared." "I know, but Margaret, you're doing what needs to be done. Take a few days. Don't answer the door. Don't engage with them at all. Let me handle this legally. I took his advice. For 3 days, I barely left my house. I had groceries delivered. I ignored the old phone that kept buzzing with messages. I sat in my garden and tried to remember who I had been before all of this. My neighbor, Patricia, came by on the 3rd day. She was 72, sharp as a tack, and had lived next door for 15 years. I saw what happened, she said, without preamble. Your daughter and that husband of hers screaming on your porch. You okay? I wasn't sure how to answer. I'm managing, Patricia snorted. Bullshit, you look like hell. What's going on? And somehow, I told her, everything. She listened, nodding occasionally, her expression growing harder. When I finished, she said, my daughter pulled similar shit 20 years ago. Different details, same playbook. Took me almost losing everything to see it. She patted my hand. You're doing the right thing. Don't you dare back down now. Those words, from someone who understood, meant more than she could know. On the 4th day, my doorbell rang at 2 in the afternoon. I checked the camera I'd had installed, another piece of Robert's advice, and my heart clenched. Sophie and Claire stood on my porch, alone. I opened the door immediately. Girls, what are you doing here? Where are your parents? Sophie, the older one at 7, held out a folded piece of paper. Her eyes were red from crying. Mommy said to give this to you. She's in the car at the end of the street. She said we could visit for 10 minutes. Using the children as messengers, as shields. My hands trembled as I took the note, but I smiled at my granddaughters. Come in, sweethearts. Do you want some cookies? The note was in Emily's handwriting. We're willing to talk reasonably if you are. The girls miss you. We miss you. Can we please find a way past this? Call me. E. I looked at Sophie and Claire, happily eating chocolate chip cookies at my kitchen table, telling me about school and their new puppy, and I felt the trap closing around me. Emily knew exactly what she was doing. Get me attached again, get me emotional, and I'd cave. Grandma, why haven't you come to see us? Claire asked, her 5-year-old voice small and confused. I've been dealing with some grown-up problems, honey, but I've missed you so much. Mommy says you're sick, in your head. Sophie watched me carefully. Are you sick? There it was. Emily was already poisoning them against me, planting seeds of doubt about my mental state, building her case for keeping me away. No, sweetheart, I'm not sick. Your mom and I just have a disagreement about some adult things. It has nothing to do with how much I love you both. After exactly 10 minutes, the doorbell rang again. Emily stood there, her face a careful mask of concern. Hi, Mom. Can we talk? Girls, why don't you go wash your hands? I waited until they were out of earshot. Using your children as negotiators is despicable. Emily's mask cracked slightly. I'm trying to build a bridge here. You're the one who brought lawyers into this. You brought lawyers into this when you committed fraud on your mortgage application. That was a misunderstanding. Brad's accountant told him that was the right way to report it. Don't lie to me, Emily. I know everything. The debt, the judgments against Brad, the restraining order you tried to file. Her eyes widened. You've been investigating us? Spying on us? Protecting myself from con artists, which apparently includes my own daughter. Emily's face flushed. Mom, please. We made mistakes, okay? We're under so much pressure. Brad's business is struggling, and I was just trying to keep our family afloat. Maybe we relied on you too much, but that's what family does, right? We help each other? She was good. If I hadn't heard the conversation in her kitchen, if I hadn't seen the evidence of their fraud, I might have believed the tears gathering in her eyes. Family doesn't lie to banks and put their mother's financial security at risk, I said quietly. You need to leave now. What about the girls? Are you really going to punish them for our mistakes? I'm not punishing anyone. You're welcome to bring them to visit after we've sorted out the legal and financial issues, with supervision. Supervision? Emily's voice rose. You want supervised visits with your own grandchildren? What kind of sick? The kind where their mother uses them as pawns. Yes. Now please leave. After they left, I cried for an hour. But I didn't call Emily back. I didn't apologize. I didn't offer to help. The manipulation attempts escalated over the next week. My sister called from Florida. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, suddenly concerned about my vendetta against Emily. How had she even heard about this? Emily called me in tears, Linda said. She says you've cut her off financially and now you're trying to take her house. Margaret, what's going on? I explained the situation, the money, the fraud, the threats. Linda was silent for a long moment. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Emily always was good at playing the victim. You believe me? Of course I believe you. I lent her $3,000 2 years ago that she never paid back. She told me she'd ask you to pay me. Did she? Another piece of the puzzle. No, she never mentioned it. After that conversation, Linda became an unexpected ally, even offering to testify about Emily's pattern of financial manipulation, if needed. My church ladies group rallied around me too. Patricia had mentioned my situation to a few trusted friends, and suddenly I had a network of support. Women who'd been through their own family betrayals, who understood that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. You're stronger than you think, my friend Joyce told me over coffee, and you're teaching those girls an important lesson, even if they don't see it now, that boundaries matter, that you can't treat people badly without consequences. I held on to that thought. Robert called with an update. The mortgage company is conducting a full investigation. They've frozen any refinancing applications Emily and Brad might file. And the court granted your temporary restraining order. They can't come within 500 feet of your home. What about the girls? Supervised visitation at a neutral location, if Emily agrees. She hasn't responded yet. Of course she hadn't. Emily didn't want me to see the girls. She wanted to use them as leverage. That night, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Final chance." I should have deleted it. But I opened it. Margaret, you've made your point. We understand you're angry. But this has gone far enough. We're willing to enter into a payment plan for what we owe you. $500 per month until everything is paid back. In return, you drop all legal actions and we move forward as a family. The girls need their grandmother. I need my mother. Please don't throw away our whole relationship over money. Call me. We can fix this. Emily, $500 per month. At that rate, it would take 11 years to repay just the principal, with no interest. They'd never make it past the third payment. I forwarded the email to Robert without responding. His reply was immediate. Don't engage. This is bait. They're trying to get you to settle for pennies while they figure out their next move. I deleted the email and went to bed, feeling the cold certainty that this was far from over. The meeting was Brad's idea, relayed through Robert. My clients wished to meet with Mrs. Donovan in person to discuss a resolution. They propose a neutral location with both attorneys present. Robert advised against it. You don't need to see them face to face. We can negotiate through formal channels. But I agreed anyway. I wanted to look them in the eyes. I wanted them to see that I wasn't the same woman they'd been using for years. We met at Robert's conference room the following Tuesday. Emily and Brad arrived with their attorney, a slick-looking man named Warren Pierce, who specialized in bankruptcy and debt resolution. That told me everything about their strategy. Emily looked tired, her hair less perfect than usual. Brad wore a suit that was trying too hard. They sat across from me, and for a moment, nobody spoke. Warren broke the silence. Thank you all for coming. I think we can find a mutually beneficial resolution here without further legal expenses or family drama. Let's hear it, Robert said neutrally. Warren slid a document across the table. My clients acknowledge that they've received financial assistance from Mrs. Donovan over the years. They're grateful for that help. However, they dispute that this assistance constituted loans requiring repayment. They believe these were gifts given freely by a grandmother who wanted to help her family. I opened my mouth, but Robert touched my arm. Continue, he said to Warren. That said, in the spirit of family harmony, my clients are willing to make nominal monthly payments as a gesture of good faith. $300 per month, no interest, no formal repayment schedule. In exchange, Mrs. Donovan signs a release of all claims and agrees not to interfere with their mortgage or make any further allegations of fraud. $300, I said flatly, for $60,000. Emily leaned forward, her voice soft and pleading. Mom, we're drowning here. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Brad's business is barely surviving. We have 2 children to think about. We're trying to do the right thing, but we literally don't have more to give. You had money for Hawaii, I said quietly. For jet skis, for spa days. Emily's face flushed. That was different. That was before you got caught? I met her eyes. Before your ATM cut you off? Brad slammed his hand on the table. See? This is why we can't work with her. She's vindictive. She's weaponizing money to control us. Control you? I felt my own anger rising. I never controlled anything. I gave and gave and gave while you lied and stole and planned to throw me away when I was used up. That's not true. Emily's tears started, right on cue. We love you. The girls love you. We made mistakes, but families forgive each other. That's what love is. No, I said, standing up. Love is honest. Love is respectful. Love doesn't commit fraud using someone's kindness. This meeting is over. Sit down, Margaret. Brad's voice was cold now. All pretense dropped. You think you're winning here? You're destroying your own family. When this is done, you'll have nothing. No daughter, no grandchildren, just your righteousness and your empty house. Brad, don't. Warren tried to intervene, but Brad was rolling now. You're a bitter old woman who can't stand that we built a life without you at the center of it. Every dollar you gave us, you held over our heads. Every favor came with strings. You suffocated Emily her whole life, and now you're trying to do it with money. That's enough, Robert said firmly. This meeting is concluded. But Emily wasn't done. She stood too, her mask finally, completely off. You want to know the truth, Mom? Fine. Yes, we used you. Yes, we planned it. Because you were so desperate to be needed that it was pathetic. Dad's been dead for 15 years, and you still act like a grieving widow, clinging to me because you have nothing else. Her words were designed to wound, and they did. But I had been preparing for this. You're right, I said quietly. I did cling to you. I did try to be needed. Because I loved you. And I couldn't see that you'd become someone who would exploit that love. But I see now. And you're never getting another dollar from me. Then you're never seeing those girls again, Emily hissed. I'll make sure they forget you exist. We'll tell them you died. We'll move and change our names if we have to. You'll be nothing but a fading photograph. That's parental alienation, Robert said calmly, and you just threatened it in front of witnesses and cameras. He gestured to the small recording device on the table, which I knew was running. I strongly suggest you leave now before you make this worse. Warren grabbed Brad's arm as he lunged toward the table. We're done here. Come on. As they filed out, Emily turned back. I hope you're happy, Mom. You've destroyed everything. No, I said. You did that all by yourself. After they left, I sat in that conference room and shook. Robert poured me water. You did well. You stayed calm. I don't feel calm. I feel terrified. Good. That's appropriate. But Margaret, did you hear what they said? They admitted to planning this. They threatened parental alienation. We have it all recorded. I nodded, trying to process. And that bankruptcy attorney? They're about to file, which means they're in even worse shape than we thought. Your canceled payments pushed them over the edge. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt sick. These were people I had loved. People I had trusted with my heart and my money and my future. But I also felt something else stirring. Determination. They had shown me who they truly were, and I believed them. That night, I had nightmares about Sophie and Claire forgetting my face. But when I woke up, I didn't reach for my phone to call Emily. I didn't consider backing down. Instead, I called Linda. I need you to find out everything about their bankruptcy filing. I want to know every asset they're trying to hide, every lie they're telling, everything. Now we're talking, Linda said with approval. I'll have a preliminary report in 48 hours. The fear was still there, cold and heavy in my chest. But it was fuel now, not paralysis. The bankruptcy filing came 3 days later. Chapter 7. Complete liquidation. Emily and Brad were claiming total insolvency, listing every debt, every asset. Robert's office received the notification since I was listed as a creditor, but Linda found the discrepancy within hours. They're hiding assets, she said, spreading documents across my kitchen table. Look here, they listed their boat as sold 6 months ago for $12,000, but I found the boat. It's registered to Brad's Brothers LLC, transferred 2 weeks ago for $1. That's bankruptcy fraud. I studied the papers. What else? Emily's jewelry. She has a collection worth at least $40,000. Inheritance from Brad's grandmother, not listed. Brad's tools and equipment for his contracting business, severely undervalued. They claimed $3,500. I got estimates from 3 different sources. Actual value? Closer to $18,000. Linda pulled out more documents. And this is the big one. They have a business account under an LLC that's not disclosed. Brad set it up 4 months ago, right around when you started asking questions about repayment. They've been funneling money into it, including a $20,000 deposit from a commercial job he completed in January. They're trying to hide money while claiming poverty, I said slowly. Exactly. And that's bankruptcy fraud, which is a federal crime. 5 years in prison, potentially. Robert reviewed Linda's findings and whistled. This is thorough. Margaret, I need to ask, how far are you willing to take this? I thought about Emily's face when she'd threatened to erase me from the girls' lives, about Brad calling me a bitter old bitch, about years of manipulation and exploitation. As far as it needs to go, I said. Robert filed an objection to the bankruptcy discharge, attaching Linda's evidence. We also sent copies to the FBI's Bankruptcy Fraud Division and the U.S. Trustee's office. Then we waited. The explosion came on a Friday. Emily called my new number. I never figured out how she got it, screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You called the FBI? You reported us for fraud? Are you insane? I reported evidence of criminal activity, I said calmly, which I'm legally obligated to do. They could put Brad in prison. They're freezing our accounts. They've seized the boat. Mom, how could you do this? How could I? Emily, you committed crimes. You lied to banks. You hid assets. You tried to defraud your creditors. This isn't about me. This is about choices you made. You bitter, vindictive, she was crying now, the sound ugly and desperate. You're destroying your own family over money. What kind of monster are you? The kind who won't be stolen from anymore, I said. Goodbye, Emily. I blocked the number. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Robert prepared me carefully. The trustee will examine their finances under oath. They'll have to explain the discrepancies. And Margaret, you'll be called to testify. I'm ready. The bankruptcy courtroom was smaller than I expected. Emily and Brad sat with Warren Pierce, both looking pale and frightened. The U.S. trustee's attorney, a stern woman named Catherine Morales, had a stack of documents in front of her. I was called first. Under oath, I detailed every payment, every loan, every conversation. I showed text messages where Emily had promised repayment. I explained how I'd discovered the fraud. Emily's attorney tried to paint me as a controlling mother seeking revenge, but Catherine Morales shut that down. Ms. Pierce, the issue before this court is not family dynamics. It's whether the debtors have been truthful in their filings. That's all. Then Brad was called. Catherine methodically went through each hidden asset. Mr. Whitman, you listed a boat as sold 6 months ago, correct? Yes. And yet the boat is currently registered to an LLC controlled by your brother. How do you explain that? Brad stammered. The sale was to my brother. For his company. For $1? He couldn't afford more. But you listed the sale price as $12,000 in your bankruptcy filing. Which is it? Brad's face went red. I misspoke. It went on like that for an hour. Every hidden asset exposed, every lie unraveling. Emily started crying halfway through, but the judge was unmoved. Finally, Catherine presented the business account evidence. You have an undisclosed LLC with significant deposits, including $20,000 from a commercial job this year. Why wasn't this disclosed? Warren tried to intervene. Your Honor, my clients were unaware that account needed to be disclosed. Mr. Pierce, your clients are required to disclose all assets and income. Ignorance is not a defense. The judge looked at Brad. Mr. Whitman, this appears to be deliberate concealment. We needed that money to live on, Brad burst out. We have kids. Margaret cut us off completely. We were desperate. So you committed fraud, the judge said flatly. Both mortgage fraud initially, and now bankruptcy fraud. Mr. Whitman, I'm denying your discharge. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Emily sobbed openly. Brad looked like he might be sick. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Donovan, your claim of $67,240 is valid and will not be discharged. The debtors remain liable. Thank you, Your Honor. As we left the courtroom, Emily grabbed my arm. Mom, please. They're going to prosecute us. Brad could go to prison. The girls could lose their father. Please, can't you just drop this? I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her, saw the manipulation, the desperation, the complete lack of genuine remorse. She wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry she'd been caught. No, I said simply and walked away. Robert was jubilant. That was perfect. The criminal case will take months, maybe years, but the bankruptcy is dead. They'll have to liquidate assets to pay creditors, including you. And with the fraud findings, they'll likely lose the house. What about my grandchildren? I asked quietly. That's separate. Family court. But Margaret, you now have documented evidence of their dishonesty and criminal behavior. That matters in custody considerations. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to hope. The foreclosure notice was posted on Emily and Brad's door 6 weeks after the bankruptcy hearing. I drove past once, not to gloat, but to see it for myself. The for sale, bank-owned sign felt surreal. Robert kept me updated. The U.S. attorney is offering a plea deal. Brad pleads guilty to bankruptcy fraud, gets 18 months federal prison. Emily gets probation and community service. Will they take it? They don't have much choice. The evidence is overwhelming. I was tired. When Robert asked if I supported the plea agreement, I said yes. The asset liquidation moved quickly. The boat sold for $14,000. Emily's jewelry collection fetched $38,000 at auction. Brad's equipment, $16,000. But the biggest asset was the house. It sold for $415,000. After the first mortgage, there was approximately $70,000 remaining. I was the primary creditor. The trustee cut me a check for $67,240. Principal and interest. I stared at that check for a long time before depositing it. The money was back, yes, but it felt hollow. Still, having my retirement savings restored meant security. That mattered. Emily and Brad moved into a rental apartment in a rough part of town. Brad was awaiting sentencing. Emily had lost her job when her employer learned about the fraud charges. They were relying on Brad's parents for support now. The irony wasn't lost on me, but the hardest part was still ahead, the fight for my grandchildren. I filed for grandparent visitation rights, armed with evidence of parental alienation and criminal convictions. Emily fought it, but her attorney was court-appointed now. The family court hearing was brief. The judge reviewed the threatening text messages, the fraudulent actions, Emily's false restraining order attempt. Mrs. Whitman, you've demonstrated a pattern of using your children as weapons. That ends now. I was granted supervised visitation, 2 hours every Saturday. It wasn't everything, but it was a start. The first visit broke and healed my heart simultaneously. Sophie and Claire were tentative at first, but children are resilient. We played games. We talked. I missed you, Grandma, Sophie whispered during a hug. I missed you too, sweetheart, so much. Brad's sentencing came. 15 months federal prison. On the day he was taken into custody, Emily called me. I don't know how to do this alone, she said quietly. No accusations, just exhaustion. The girls keep asking about you. I waited. Could we make the visits longer? Could you help with the girls sometimes? I'm working 2 jobs now. The familiar request for help. The old me would have rushed in, checkbook open. I'll increase the visits, I said carefully. And I'm happy to help with the girls. But Emily, I won't give you money. I won't enable you to avoid consequences. Silence. Then, I understand. And you need therapy. Family therapy eventually, if we're going to rebuild any relationship. I'm already seeing someone, court-ordered. Good. It wasn't reconciliation. Not yet. Maybe never. But it was a door opening, slightly. 3 months later, Emily filed for divorce. She asked to talk. We met at a coffee shop. I should have left him years ago, she said. Before I became someone I don't recognize. You made your own choices, I said truthfully. I know, I hurt you, I used you, and I'm sorry. I studied her face, looking for manipulation, but all I saw was genuine remorse. I'm sorry, too, for enabling you for so long, for not setting boundaries sooner. Can we start over? Try to build something honest? I thought about it. We can try, but it takes time. Trust is rebuilt slowly. I understand. We didn't hug, but we finished our coffee together, and that was something. A year later, my life had transformed completely. I sold my house and moved into a charming cottage in a retirement community. I had neighbors my age, a community garden, book clubs. For the first time in years, I wasn't lonely. The money from my house sale, combined with recovered funds, meant financial stability. I started traveling, Charleston, New Mexico, then a 2-week Ireland tour. My Saturdays were sacred. Sophie and Claire visited, now unsupervised. Monthly sleepovers, baking, museums, homework help. The relationship was healing. Sophie, now 9, asked once, Grandma, why did you and Mom stop talking for a while? Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements about important things, but I never stopped loving you and your sister. Did it have to do with money? Partly, but more about honesty and respect. Those matter more than money. I met George at a community event. A widower, retired teacher, kind eyes. We had dinner weekly, companionship, someone to share life with. I was happy, genuinely happy. My calendar was full, my finances secure, my relationship with my granddaughter strong. I volunteered at a literacy center, learned watercolor painting, lived instead of just existing. Meanwhile, Emily's life had deteriorated. The divorce finalized 6 months after Brad's incarceration. Emily got custody, but also all remaining debt. Brad's parents blamed her, cutting off support entirely. Emily worked 2 jobs: grocery store mornings, call center evenings. The girls were in after-school care she could barely afford. They'd moved 3 times in a year, each apartment smaller and worse. Emily's car got repossessed, Patricia mentioned one day. She can't afford payments, I said. Heard she's taking the bus now, 2 hours each way. I felt sadness at the waste of it all. Brad emerged from prison after 13 months to find his contracting license revoked, his reputation destroyed. He lived with his brother, working under the table, barely making minimum wage. His relationship with his daughters was nearly non-existent. Emily tried to rebuild. She was consistent with therapy, worked her jobs, stayed out of trouble. But consequences followed her everywhere. Job applications required explaining criminal records. Apartment rentals failed background checks. Credit was destroyed for years. One Saturday, after dropping the girls off, she lingered at my door. Mom, do you think I'll ever recover from this? Build a real life again? I think you can build a life, yes, but it won't be the life you had before. That's gone. The question is whether you can accept that and make something meaningful now. Tears filled her eyes. I see you thriving, and I'm barely surviving. Emily, you're experiencing natural consequences of serious choices. I can't rescue you from this. I'm not asking you to. I just needed to say I see it. I see how much better your life is. My life is better because I have boundaries and self-respect. Yours can be too, eventually, but it takes time and work. Claire's 8th birthday party was at my cottage. Emily came for an hour, managing a genuine smile. As she helped me clean up afterward, she said suddenly, I never thanked you for fighting for the girls when I was trying to use them as weapons. They needed you. It was the most honest thing she'd said in years. They're good girls. They deserve stability and love. They talk about you all the time. They're happy when they're with you. That's something good that came from all this mess. I didn't point out the mess was of her own making. She knew. My retirement was nothing like I'd imagined. I'd thought I'd be the matriarch of a large, loving family. The reality was more complicated, more painful, but also more honest. I had my granddaughters, truly. I had genuine friendships. I had financial security I'd fought for. I had self-respect. Emily had consequences. Brad had consequences. But I had peace. And that was worth every difficult moment. Looking back now, I understand that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's enabling. I learned that family doesn't give anyone the right to exploit you. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. My daughter and her husband tried to use my love against me. I chose dignity over being used. Was it easy? No. Was it worth it? Absolutely. I have my granddaughters. I have my self-respect. I have a life I built on my own terms. So I ask you, what would you do if family betrayed your trust? Would you fight back or give in? Share your thoughts below. And thank you for listening to my story.